game review. So, here it is, 2023 RI3D ZouKeepers Robot. I'm just going to go over the design real quick. So, we have arm that lifts up from this one sim into a 80 to 1 gearbox, and then it's geared, what?
2.5.
2.5.
So overall 200 to 1.
200 to 1 gear ratio on this arm. And then we got intake with a double flywheel. Each one of these controlled by motor, and then get a nice angle. So for our intake, we have double flywheels, just some 4-inch compliant wheels. These are real squishy, really grippy. Each one of them is driven by a 775 Pro on a 10 to 1 gearbox. And then the intake clamps in and out from a pneumatic piston back here. And the whole thing is on a telescoping arm, which is, these are Thrifty bought kits, and that whole thing is driven by two 775 Pros on, what is this, 80 to 1?
That's an 80 to 1, yeah.
80 to 1 Bainbot's gearbox.
Do we want to mention the obvious little thing down here, the smaller compliant wheel?
So we tested out different wheels, and we decided on doing a smaller compliant wheel on the bottom to match the shape of the cone here.
Yeah.
Get that. So we chose our compliant wheels in order to match the angle of the cone and get good grip on it, and that doesn't interfere with the cube because the cube itself is very compliant, so it still goes in either way. Anything else?
So as far as the arm, with the gearing we have, we were able to stall it out with about 10% from the sim. A lot of our software electrical stuff was pretty bare bones, kind of just like percent output stuff, but you could definitely get it pretty dialed with like an arbitrary feed forward that scales with both the angle of the arm and the extension of the telescope. That would keep your arm at a better level. You can get some motion profiling for some set points and stuff, and we'd be in a pretty good spot, I think, even with what we have here. It's like, as you can see, it falls by itself, so it's not like completely. You have to stall the motor to keep it at a level position, but it's not too bad, I don't think, especially if you have a Falcon, something that deals better with some stall torque. I think you'd be pretty happy with that.
Be a lot easier to manage if we had a bigger ratio or a bigger motor, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's convenient.
Yeah, so yeah, we use a lot of limit switches to not blow things up, but it didn't work too well. With some better software stops and some more robust hardware limitations, then you could keep things in more safe range. But yeah.
Okay, so what did and did not work?
Yeah, give me a second.
Is it that hard to think of anything?
Define work.
So I think we were actually pretty happy with how this arm and telescoping thing worked overall. This ended up being a little slow with its gearing, and as we said, this took a little bit of stall torque to keep it a level. But I think our intake might have been, at least this Lexam part here was one of our biggest holdbacks. This would kind of like drag against the floor, and we wouldn't be able to like move while our intake was down, which was a little counterproductive.
So listen here. If you ever do that, just like add a roller or something on bottom, so that way it just glides better.
Yeah, there's probably a better way to keep the cone in.
Yeah.
Either with just like a stronger piston grip there, or I don't know, something else. But this is not the solution.
I think having a grippy material that can just grip the side of the cone would be better than trying to hook it from the bottom, because we also had maybe a little bit of problem of when we put it on, we couldn't just drop it. We had to back up.
And outtake
it was still on that lip.
I'm going to bring up something here, and that's these Thrifty Bot kits. They're generally great for upper motion. Found that a lot last year when
vertical.
Vertical, a lot better. But for the application here, the 16th inch just wasn't cutting it. It warps a bit. So if you have a really long arm, it's just not going to work well.
The Thrifty Bot kit is also not made to go out in a horizontal movement like this, so the force of the constant force springs is not enough to overcome the friction of this bending and pushing the end cap into the side of the tube.
Well, and an easy solution for that could just be remaking the Thrifty Bot kit. I mean, these are the Thrifty Bot end cap. I mean, the Thrifty Bot end caps from this year are not, or from this past year are not, like, they don't have bearing wheels or anything on them like the West Coast product ones do.
For a
or the Andy Mark Climber in the boxes do.
For a horizontal telescoper, you probably want bearings.
You'll want an interlocking bearing block or something. Anything else you can think of that is needing addressing?
Don't do your motor like this.
Yes.
You can see why.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's because we just didn't grease it.
Yeah, well, we put it on one bracket because we were just like, yeah. And this it bends in every possible direction.
Yeah.
So you'd want to run a shaft that mimics this shaft and keep these shafts actually together. We probably could have put some more reinforcement in here, churros or whatever, to hold these two members together, because we've had a lot of play in the two of them moving.
We were naive and we're thinking we would be flipping through the bottoms at that point still, so we ignored it, and then we got too lazy later on. So
that's the game of RI3D.
It is the game of RI3D.
But yeah, overall, the robot does what we've designed it to do,
more or less,
to varying degrees of
design works need improvement.
Yeah. So this is a pretty basic in concept idea that is mostly pretty competitive.
Yeah, with a more robust telescope, you could probably get to the farthest pole. We were only going for the middle or the first pole.
Yeah, with a 2-stage telescope, you can reach pretty far.
Honestly, a 3-stage would probably be the safest bet.
If you have
that, but I think
beginning stages. Yeah.
I think West Coast Products sells that one, so I swear this is not paid for. This is like my general opinion. I think the West Coast Products would be better here. No hurt, Thrifty Bot, I'm sorry. So that's the ZouKeepers 2023 RI3D Robot.